What is the most meaningful part of your work?
First of all, thank you very much for having me here, Roseanne. I'm just overwhelmed at, everything that's happened, moving forward to this moment of Thriving Woman. So thank you very much. The question, I have the answer. I can't remember the question, but I I know the thing that, for me, the thing that maybe put me on this journey, because I think I'm very introverted and I'm definitely not the kind of person who wants to stand out in a crowd, to speak in front of people. I actually hate speaking in front of people. But it's the moment when you think, and maybe it's the crisis. Now, when I go and meet my maker, why was I here at the end of the day? Was it just to be a mother to my children and a good wife? And somehow that answer was not adequate for me. And that is really what put me on this journey in the year 2000 and maybe 16, no, 15, because the crisis was having my child. But yes, yeah, I think for me it's just that when I meet my maker and he asks me, Pat, you were given your talents, what did you do with them? That's the thing that really spurs me forward.
Okay, I'm just going to ask one question and then you can dive into, oh, you don't have, I can just ask the question. I can ask, okay, so I'll make the questions, I'll ask a couple of questions before we move to Dr. Patricia. So in business, no, not even in business, in life, one of the things that you keep hearing is like, don't give up, don't quit, just like keep hustling. Even when we're talking about the seasons, it's like, just know like it's not here forever, just like, but don't give up, don't give up. But sometimes giving up is the right thing to do, or letting go is the right thing to do. And I'm just curious, when do you know, especially in business and in entrepreneurship, when do you know when to let go and when to keep fighting? And I ask this also because with entrepreneurship, there's a level of like, you've got to be a level of crazy. Like there's a level of stubbornness, right? Because you do things and you're like, why is she still going at it? Can't you, everything is like, all the answers are like, stop, stop, stop. And then next thing you know, it's like they've hit the biggest milestone of their careers because they didn't give up. But I've always been curious, how does one know when to step back and when to keep pushing on?
Yeah, that's a good one. How many entrepreneurs do we have in the room? Okay, just want to know who I'm speaking to. All right. The path to entrepreneurship is not a linear path. I think that's the first thing we have to agree. We're constantly iterating and constantly trying something. It changes. It doesn't look like what it was supposed to be. I think the thing that it's in this new season, because I've been in business 23 years, and this new season of the startup season of you have to go get this idea, then you go and pitch it, then you get money, and then you keep going at it, is for me a bit of a foreign thing, because I believe that you have to have a proof of concept. You have to have a basic product or service, and then people will pay you for that product and service, and they will come back a second time and a third time. And for me, that's what real entrepreneurship is. Now, the struggle is when you have a paper business and you are in love with that idea, and then you keep pitching it and there's nobody buying. Maybe it's not business, yeah. Maybe. You can console yourself and you can say, I'm not talking to the right audience, I'm not talking. But we're assuming, we're making an assumption as an entrepreneur, you will keep speaking about this product that you have or this service that you have. And then eventually somebody's going to come to you and say they're willing to pay you hard money for the value that you're offering. And for me, that is what true entrepreneurship is. Now, the issue about giving up, it's not about, I don't think I would say giving up. For me, what I have seen through life is through a series of failures, you will eventually get the thing that works. And I think you should be okay with failing, which is, it's easy to say that, but in a society that judges us so much, even for things that are beyond our control, you can see how you hold on to something because of fear of being called a failure, right? But if you look at it as part of the process of iterating to get to that fantastic product at the end of the journey, then you should want to fail fast, quickly. I mean, you should be looking forward to, okay, what's my learning here? What did I learn? And how can I then improve on it? In my experience, especially now with Kayana, which is where I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, one of the saddest things I see is a woman just stuck with this thing and I'm going with it and it's a beautiful product or it's a beautiful service. no buyers, nothing, spending money on it. It's heartbreaking, really, to see that happen. And I think, and usually it's just tweaking something or just letting go of something. And sometimes even the solution is in your customer. So the customer can even tell you, well, maybe it's too much of this. Maybe if you just reduce this, but you're like, man, I know this. I read it for a year. I've been writing this. There's no way you know more than me. All you've just tasted, and then you're now giving me your opinion. So I think that's where the struggle comes from. And if we now pedal back a little bit, it's now talking about ourselves and as women and knowing yourself and understanding who you are. An exercise that sometimes I feel women think is a luxury. But that going back and introspecting on who you are, removing all the expectations of your family, of your kids, everybody, and just sit down in that dark corner as Sharon or as Patricia and writing down really from this life, what do I want, yeah? And how am I going to get it? And why should it matter? So much so what somebody else says of me, so much so that this thing is now becoming my exam of life, and thinking through that process. I think that's where the real journey in terms of thriving as an entrepreneur, being a thriving woman as an entrepreneur really begins to come from.
Okay, I'm going to ask one last question. So you'll often hear people I don't know if this is true, you'll tell me if it is or not, but you'll often hear people refer to their businesses as their babies, and it forms a deep sense of their identity. It happens a lot even with creators, and their art becomes them, and they are their art. And so criticism can sometimes be like, but what do you know about whatever this is? How important is it to create an identity within your business and become it becomes you, versus maybe creating some distance? Is it, have you found in your experience that the more you identify as this product or as this service, the more successful you are? Or is it important to create distance between you and whatever it is that you're selling?
I think if you look at the story of entrepreneurs who have been extremely successful and gone before us, it always starts from something from within, yeah? So I think when a business is small or when it's really starting, it'll always be an extension of yourself, yeah? I think when I think of my business being a child, I never think of it being in terms of something I've given birth to, but it's more of the amount of time I have to spend on this part of my life in order for it to grow and to extend, to outlive me. And for me, that's what I see in terms of the child. But in terms of your business being an extension of me, and I want to use one of my business. So I have a business that I started 23 years ago that gave birth to another one that I started 12 years ago. And the one that I started 12 years ago is by far more successful than the first one. And I do believe it's because I was able to distance myself from it. I don't look at it, while the first one was, this is my baby, it's my first business. I could see the cracks in this new one. I could see this is where the gaps are. When a client would come with feedback, and in Kenya, feedback for some reason is criticism. I don't know. We have to examine ourselves. Anyway, when they would come back with feedback, it would not be about me. It's not that they're not criticizing Patricia. It was everything they were giving back to me was something that I could go and put into that business to make it better. And I know that's why it succeeded in terms of turnover. The first one, which was now my real baby, of you're not telling me anything, this is my work, I'm the one who was the designer, I'm the one who was going to pitch the job. And I was doing, but with this second one, it wasn't at all like that. So I think for me, that's what I think. But even more important in terms of a big problem where women get stuck with our micro businesses, me included, me, Patricia included, get stuck with my business being micro, is really around the space where I can only do things my way, And I think that's now the thing that kills women-owned businesses. It's not the same. I have to mix it myself. I have to pack it myself. Who said? Believe me, the person who's going to eat it has no idea what you spent sleepless night mixing that thing. At the end of the day, as long as it's good and it serves them and it grows them, that's what they're looking for at the end of that journey. So the sooner we get out of ourselves saying that, teach other people your recipes. Teach them how to, how you do you. Teach them how you speak in front of people. Teach them how you organize your courses or your work, etc. They will never be you. They will never, until you put your flavor into that thing, that's when it's you. So don't be holding on to this thing. I could have a whole seminar on abundance about that. Stop holding on to things like, if I train somebody else, they'll run away with it. Lies, 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 lies. No, instead focus on putting systems, focus on writing things down. In the Bible, we've been told, Malachi, write your vision, make it clear. So that even if they tarry, for sure, even in your business, that's what you need to do. Let people see clearly. Somebody comes into the business, it's like for dummies. They get in, they know how you do it. When you wake up, when you enter your business, where do you put your handbag? Show them, put your handbag here, I sit here, I do this. Show them every single step until they can do it exactly like you, but they're not you. Imagine that's the beginning of how businesses grow and go beyond borders, beyond, and anybody who's worked for multinationals knows that these are the processes they put. It's only that now it becomes broken down into sectors for businesses to grow. Yeah.
Thank you. Man, I feel like for some business gets me going. But that's also because like women making money gets me going. I love seeing women making money.